Okay. Well, I should have had my hair. I should have done hair and makeup then. Okay.
Well, students, a big thing, of course, this class is seminar and internship. We want you to be working 10 or 15 hours a week at least, and having work experiences that can forward your educational experiences. And an outcome at the end is to obtain a job. Excuse me, in the career. You know, that's what. And so to that extent, we want to look at your resumes and maybe migrate them to a career resume and develop or look at the best practices they have. And the JPRC at the college has tremendous resources online that Ms. Garoon's going to review for us, as well as look at resumes and how you can best craft a resume that'll help you in obtaining career employment. Now, for some of us, we're at various levels and various stages. Some of us are doing sales, you know, at an event space or a hotel, and some of us are, you know, working in the meat shop, like what's his name, and then serving his employment needs while he's in school. But the whole idea is to move out of that if you want to. And so what we're trying to do is give you tools to work with. So we've invited the JPRC and Anne to come in. She's done this before, and the staff over there have been very good about working with us. So I've given her the privileges to drive the BlackBoard. So she's got a presentation, and we'll take it from there. Thanks a lot, Anne, for coming in and working with us.
My pleasure. So when I show the presentation, I won't be able to see you. If you have questions, you could put them in the chat room or just hang on to them. And I'm going to watch my time really carefully so I stay on track, and that we'll have time for some questions. Okay? Everybody ready? Set? Go. So thanks for having me today, Professor Beach. We have worked together before. Pat is a strong supporter of our program, and that's greatly appreciated. Usually I say, do you know where the Job Placement Resource Center is? But Building W, but no point in saying that at this point. I will just tell you that, as Professor Beach did say, that there are lots and lots of resources on our website. And you have a packet, I don't know if it's on your Blackboard, that has all the information I'm going to cover today, as well as how you could contact us. And you'll see there's so much resource that, you know, even if you have a crazy schedule and you can't get directly to talk to us, even though we'll help you do that, there's a lot of information that you can utilize on your, just going to our website. So today, we're going to talk about the purpose of a resume, how to write a resume, a little bit about an applicant tracking system, so you will be in the know. Briefly look at cover letters and references. So the purpose of a resume, first and foremost, is your self-marketing tool. It's how you make your first impression to an employer. Now, if you have a great opportunity and you can network with somebody, that's terrific. And then your communication skills, your appearance, along with your resume, will be your first impression. But for most people, the resume is the first opportunity to show who you are. And that's why we are so persnickery and critical of resumes. It's not to hurt anyone's feelings, but it's to make sure you have a document that is really showing you off, showing your qualification, skills, abilities, and achievements in the best possible way. The resume also serves the purpose of communicating to an employer why you are a strong candidate, what you can do for them, what can you bring to their team. Those are also important considerations. And remember that resumes, while used for employment, that's what we all think of first. They are also part of college and scholarship applications today, and of course, homework assignments. So that's why we want you to do a good job. So the resume is responsible for telling your story. And that's really an important thing to think about. How do you want to tell your story? You want to be clear, you want to be concise and consistent. A resume is not your life story, remember, it's capturing you a moment in time. We strongly recommend using a Word document. Just open up a blank document and start putting down the information and follow the formatting I'm going to go over with you today. Please do not use a template that forces you to tell your story their way, and usually they're not in the best way format for doing that. Also, be careful using Google Docs. Um, they don't always transfer neatly to a Microsoft Word document when you want to convert them. And most businesses and organizations do not have access to opening Google Docs. So you want to make it as easy as possible for someone to read your resume, to put it on a blank Word document. Some kind of tips are use a professional 11-point font. There's other variations there on the resume checklist I sent you all. There's other discussion about what fonts to use. We start with 11-point font. That's the one that gets you through the applicant tracking systems the best. But if you can go as small as 10 in certain font types, you just want to make sure it's readable, maybe even readable without someone putting their glasses on. You want to keep the resume to 1 to 2 pages. That goes for everybody. So even if unless you are applying for a CEO position or some really high executive level, no one uses more than a 2-page resume. Why is that? Because employers don't want to read more than 2 pages. They may get hundreds of applications for each job they post, and so you want to keep it to a format that they'll be willing to read. We're going to talk about using bullets to focus on what's important. You want to keep your document to a 1/2 inch, 1 inch margin. That's really critical because it gives enough white space for someone to read without with space to rest their eyes, and it gives you good margin. I don't know, someone maybe if you all mute yourself, and I'm getting some feedback. That would be good. That'd be me. And And the most important thing I can tell you is to check your spelling and grammar of everything you ever send to an employer, be it an email, a text, your resume, a cover letter, a thank you note, because there is nothing more more that I can guarantee you that if there's spelling and grammar errors on any of your documents, they're going to go into the recycle bin. It's just not professional. It shows a lack of attention to detail, and employers really don't, they'll move you out. There's people behind you in line who don't have spelling and grammar errors. So please make sure you're careful about proofreading. Okay. I think, let me go back one slide. Okay, yeah. So resumes have their own unique style. I don't know who really started this. It really started in France many, many years ago. But the style of resumes are pretty standard. And that includes not using personal pronouns like I. The reader understands this is your voice speaking, so you don't need to use I. You want to use action verbs. I'm going to show you what those look like in your bullets. So you want to keep them as painting a picture rather than say responsible for and list what you're doing. You want to start letting them imagine, what does it look like when you manage? What does it look like when you're supervising someone? Some other tips are use present tense for current activities and past tense for past activities. And you're going to list everything in most recent order first. So whatever you're doing now comes first, whatever you did before that comes next. So these are just some of the styles of resume. It is your resume. I'm going to just tell you that before we go any further. And if you are really committed to having it the way you want it, you have editorial control. I'm just going over the things that make it easy for employers to understand and read. After working with employers, and even now, in this virtual environment we live in, it's even more important to to use the resumes that are virtually appealing. We're going to talk about briefly applicant tracking systems. Those are computer systems that companies, large organizations, even mid-sized organizations, and small companies are starting to use as well. They're used to filter resumes and cover letters and other documents to select candidates that they feel best meet their job qualifications. And what this means is the system is searching your documents, your resume, your cover letter for keywords, the words that are in that job posting, the skills, the qualifications, your experience, and you want to make sure you get those words into your resume. You don't want to dump it so that there's so many keywords that it doesn't make sense anymore. But you want to be able to get that information. Every applicant tracking system is different. I don't know which one a company, or even if a company uses one. I know Harper College does not use one, so I can't experiment with it. So you just have to understand that that's why it's so important to have a clean and neat and concisely written document. So moving from that, we're going to talk about targeting your resume. If you target your resume, then you're going to be fine if a company uses an applicant tracking system. So when you read a job posting, you want to make sure you have a clear understanding of what they are looking for. So I recommend students go through and highlight the qualifications, the skills, the experience that their company is looking for that you have. And then it's very easy to go back to that job posting and get that information into your resume. So if they're asking for things that you can't do or haven't had an experience with, move on. Go to the things you can do. And what this actually turns out to mean is that you're going to have to create a different resume for every job application, because employers today do not want to feel that you are sending them a generic resume. They want to feel that you've taken the time to really understand the job and use your resume to apply to show what you can do. So if they're looking for someone who can hop, skip, and jump, you want to get those words into your resume to show them how you hop and why you skip, and those kinds of information. So while if you are applying for the same type of job over and over again, you can probably use the same basic resume. But remember, each time you want to tweak that resume to include the skills and qualifications that they're ready to use. We're also going to recommend that you incorporate career-ready skills. I'm just going to briefly touch on these because you can read through them. Career-ready skills are the non-technical skills that an employer looks for. So not someone who knows how to manage, the front desk or to order supplies for a restaurant. They want to know you have the skills that make you just a good all-round employee. And that includes critical thinking and problem solving and being a leader and knowing how to collaborate and having leadership skills. And of course, your oral and written communication skills. So what employers tell us is that, yeah, students come out of college, come out of Harper, come out of everywhere with great technical skills that they talk about, but they seem never to mention what we call these career-ready skills. And these are the skills that really make you a good employee before you even get on the job. And while we don't technically teach these skills, there's no teamwork course at Harper. Think about all the times you worked as part of a team, in a classroom setting, on the job, volunteering, and bring some of these terminology into your resume as well. So moving on to the resume, I'm going to show you a picture that you cannot see. This is what the resume I'm talking about will look like. It's a sample. We're going to go through it in a format that you can read. And the packet contains this resume so you can take a look at it. So I'm going to start from the top of the resume and we'll work through each category. You'll see on the top, that's the information section. It can be centered like this one is. It could be flush left. It's never flush right. Remember, people read left to right. So you always want to put your most important information on the left-hand side of the resume. So it includes your city, state, and zip. You do not have to use a street address. We recommend you don't for privacy issues. A phone number, your email address, and if you're on LinkedIn, which we also recommend every student does get on LinkedIn, you would include that URL as well. You'll notice that all the font on this document are the same size and style. Sometimes they look a little different because they're capitalized or they are in bold. Your name is the one exception. It's always in bold, and it should be 1 to 2 sizes larger. Just a rule of resume writing. You'll notice right in the middle of the page is what we call a headline, and that is the actual name of the job you might be applying for. And that was one thing that would always change, obviously, each time you send in a resume. You could also, let's say you were posting your resume on HireHawk or another job board. So if you weren't applying for a specific job, you could use a headline that said hospitality industry or restaurant industry, something along those lines to give the employer an idea of what your job target is. So in this, we started sample student resume with their education. Whatever is on the top of your resume, we consider should be the most important information. So if you feel your experience is the most important, you might want to change this. So education generally goes on the top or the bottom of your resume. That's where employers are going to look for it. So here is sample student. They are getting a degree similar to one of yours, and it's stated there the complete name of the degree, the expected graduation date, and if you earned a certificate or another educational degree here at Harper, you would include that under Harper. We have a section called relevant coursework, and these are courses you have taken or are currently taking. The idea behind this is, well, maybe I haven't had experience in hospitality law and risk management, but I've taken the course, so I have that theoretical knowledge and I'm ready to apply it. So they would at least know, no experience, but you have the knowledge of what the topic is all about. The other thing under heading under education is project and case studies. And I know you all are doing case studies in class. So we kind of created some language for you to, completed case studies based on simulated problems encountered in the industry, including problem solving and creating strategies, and you can read the rest to yourself. So this is a great space. It could be up to 3 sentences, really, that show what maybe you did not in real time, but in virtual time. And here's a good place you could get some of those career-ready skills. And you'll see we talked about problem solving and being creative and using virtual communication and resource skills. So another way to display some of your skills. You'll notice as I go through that you'll see these headings. Headings are, I like to call them signposts for resume readers for the employer. That way, if they want to know right away, oh, what are your certifications? They can go to that right away. Want to know your education? They can find it right away. So headings are always in bold. They can be capitalized as these are, or they could be upper and lowercase. That's really kind of your call. If you have certifications, you want to list those as close to the top as possible. And these are 2 that we created for this document. If you have additional education, that would go then after, before certifications. If you went to have a degree or you have some college coursework at another college and it's not directly related to hospitality, I would probably put it down at the bottom of the resume as additional education, just so you don't break up this whole picture we're creating of you being a hospitality professional. Okay, so that was how the resume starts. It then goes on. The next section is usually experience. You'll notice that we always list the name of the company you're working for, their location, the dates of your employment. The dates are never in bold, so you'll notice we do have things in bold, but they are things that you want to call the attention to. So some people like to bold the job title. Some people like to bold the company's name. Some people like to bold both. That's great. You just want to be careful about always bolding the most important information. Although these bullets should be little circles that didn't translate well. So the important part, and this is usually the hardest part for any student writing a resume, is creating what we call bullets. These are the bullets. You'll notice they all start with action verbs: assist, work, participate, resolve. So you kind of get supervise. And you'll see they should run a line to 2 lines. And they are short stories of what you've done in your experience, what you've accomplished, what skills you're using, what you have learned. So here's one, work with manager to create schedules and organize the kitchen operations, supervise and participate in kitchen and dining cleaning activities. So you want to have at least 2 bullets for every work experience, because no bullet likes to be by themselves, and up to 6 to 7. 7 is really the maximum number of bullets under any one job. Otherwise, employers just get tired of reading it. That's about their limit. So think of these as short sound bites about what you've done and what you would talk about in the interview. The resume, is the basis for the interview. To tell your story about what you've done, about your experience. So here's where you would want to get some of your keywords in. And depending on the job listing. So our sample student also has 2 jobs at the same time, and so again, that would be in chronological order. Remember that if you aren't, so let's say the student was no longer working at Oh Shucks Bar and Grill, these verbs would be in the past tense. And continuing on, this is not a 3-page resume, it's just broken into 3 pages. You might have a skills section where if there was something very specific that the employer was asking about, you might incorporate in this section. If you have competency in Microsoft Office, you would want to include that. One of those career skills is digital fluency. And if you're fluent or bilingual in a second language, we definitely encourage you to include that. It does separate you from other people. And again, it's one of those career skills that employers are looking for. Many people have time, I don't know when, but a volunteer experience is another section you could include on your resume. You could just put Journeys, Palatine, Illinois, and the dates you worked there, or you could bullet it out, just depending on what your room and space looks like. And if you're engaged in any activities at Harper, this is how you would set it up: hospitality, Harper College with the Hospitality Service Club, and the dates of attendance. Additional resume sections include, we've really talked about all these, but if you had awards and achievements, you could include that. If you have a scholarship here at Harper, remember that education starts with Harper. Nothing about high school goes on your resume. Once you are enrolled in a college level coursework, then they assume you have a high school diploma, and they don't really care how you got it, GED, actually, graduating from a brick and mortar school, online. Just as long as you're in college, then they're aware that you have a high school degree. If you have professional affiliation, or military experience, you would put that on as well. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and ask if there's any questions.
Do we have to include project and case studies on our resume?
Well, it just depends on what your rest of your resume looks like. So if you have a ton of experience, maybe you wouldn't need to include that. It's another way, we're finding a lot of students are limited in what they're being able to do because of COVID, in the workplace. A lot of courses are moving to having their students having to do projects and case studies rather than getting them into the field. So I just thought I would give you an idea what that looks like.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Are you going to post this on our class, Mr. Beach, the presentation that we just looked at? And thank you very much for all that information.
Pat, I think you're on mute. This happens all the time to me. So
I know.
The hard copy that she's presenting is scheduled to go up at 10 a.m. on our Blackboard
Perfect.
site. And this video will get processed and probably be up by 10:30 or 11.
And
Okay.
the packet, and Pat, the packet I sent you will be somewhere for you to access to. Okay. Okay. Because
So,
this packet I'm talking about has a sample resume in its real form and a lot of the checklist information and things like that.
perfect.
So I'm just going to quickly go back. Maybe.
So we can just make an appointment with the resource center if we need one of the professionals there to kind of look over
Right,
our
yeah.
resume. And, okay.
Right. You can always, if you know, I know time is really problematic for most of us. Not for me. I'm working. So, but you can always send it to me by email as well. I'll take a look at it and send you back an edited copy. But I'm happy to meet you with you by phone or by WebEx. We can set up an appointment as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back quickly. I know I'm running. It's just, just easy. It's easier sometimes just to do it the old-fashioned way. Because okay, so I want to just briefly, there is a sample cover letter in your packet. I just want to tell you that it's very formula driven. If you follow the sample, it's exactly how you would want to write a cover letter. It's a couple things. Again, watch your proofreading skills. Make sure it's very targeted to the job you are applying for. If you have an opportunity to use a cover letter, use one. If they say no cover letter, if you can't attach one, then don't worry about it. It's just another way to sell yourself. Again, this is what it looks like. You'll see it's the same heading as you had on your resume, the same font size. This is the middle section you'll see in the hard copies that talk directly to, you are looking for someone who can jump, hop, and skip. I have that skills, and you're going to include them right here. It's another way to also get keywords. One quick note about addressing a cover letter. Make sure if you know the person, you can use his or her name. If you don't, you're just going to go with restaurant manager, hiring manager, human resource manager. Never ever use dear sir, madam, or to whom it may concern. So you'll see this is a 3-paragraph model. First paragraph states the name of the position and the name of the company and where you saw it. Companies like that because they know where they're spending their advertising dollars to get on job boards. This says thanks and I'd love to work for you. And the middle one is really the meat of the letter. It's really saying you're looking for someone who can do these 5 qualifications. Here's why I'm a strong candidate. Quick note about references. References also a separate document. There's a sample in that packet for you. You should have 3 to 4 professional references. You'll see in the packet that there's all kinds of information to include for them. The most important thing I can say about references is to make sure you ask permission to use them as a reference, especially if you're going to use a Harper faculty member. There is nothing worse than me getting a letter, a reference check on somebody or a phone call. The person never asked me. I don't know really what they're interested in doing. I generally, I know faculties certainly get a lot of reference checks. So please make sure you have asked permission to use them. You might share your resume with them so they have an idea what type of job you're looking for. It's a good way to network and get some advice. And if you in the interview situation, they say, we're going to start checking your interviews. After you go, yay, make sure you let your references know, because people don't always pick up the phone call if they don't know who the number is, or they might not open an email from a company they're not familiar with. So please keep your references in the loop and make sure you thank them every time they come to you. References can make all the difference in a job search, really and truly. So keep them in your loop. Wrapping up. Remember to tell your story clearly, concisely, and consistently. You can add your personal flavor to a resume, but remember, it's not a creative writing document. It's a factual statement of who you are and where you are right now. It does not have to include everything. You can't exclude information that you do not want to include. As opposed to a job application, which is a legal document, and you have to fill it out and sign off on it. This is a marketing piece. This is your way of presenting yourself. Target your resume each time to show the employer why you are a strong candidate for that job. Use a cover letter when you can. You will learn the rules of references. And here we are. You can get a hold of us at any phone or by sending an email. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Ask any more questions. Pat, I'm right on time. Are you proud of me or what? Proud of me. We are professional resume writers. We also all have a strong coaching background, and so we're there really here to help you. We have lots of information to share about the job search, about interviewing, especially now if you're not in a virtual environment. How to work through all of that, and there's a lot of great information on our website. We do have, which I did not have time to go into, but we have a job board. It's called Hire a Hawk. You can look at it on our job board, website, and I think the directions on how to get on are in your packet. It's a little sluggish now. I'm the first to admit that. It's taking a while for people to get jobs. You cannot be discouraged. You have to be persistent. And maybe we'll take a look at what's on Hire a Hawk. Doesn't cost you anything to get on it. We're very careful who sees your resumes. We're very careful about the employers who we allow on the job board. They are vetted by us. So it's another good starting point to look for a job. Okay, now I'm done. Any questions? Well, I had a minute, so I wanted to use it.
Thank you for all the information.
I wanted to reinforce just a couple of the items that you spoke about to the students. One is the accuracy of what you present needs to be 100% accurate and true. You can't couch things one way that's a half-truth, or maybe providing more than what happened. Just be accurate in everything that you do. Be professional in everything that you present to them. This is the only thing that they have to look at. And since they're running the show, it's best to figure out how they do the things they do. In our business, if you're in the hotel end of things, it's considerably different than people who are in running nightclubs and bars and things like that. Think about who you're communicating to. So you can still have a style, but it needs to be professional in all things. And certainly, if you get to the point where you're invited, the whole idea with the resume is to get the invite to communicate, whether it's a live interview or a Zoom interview. You folks see me down here with my Gibb shirt on in the basement because we're in this particular kind of environment. But the students, especially you folks who've seen me 3 or 4 or 5 semesters, have seen me in a tuxedo. You've seen me in my chef uniform. You've seen me in a suit and tie. You've seen me in khakis. And it's a uniform for a different role that I'm in every time that I try to be. And it seems random, oh, Mr. Beach is in the suit today or in the chef thing today, but it's whatever role I happen to be in. Now, when you're interviewing, think about the role that you're going to be in. And nowadays, of course, the people over there at the malls, it doesn't matter if you're big or small or wide or thin, they have clothes that can be becoming for everybody. And so you can groom yourself and clothe yourself in a way that presents you in a very, very becoming fashion. And ask people for critiques about it. They used to at the JPRC have a place you could come in and do a video or do an interview on the spot, and they would videotape you, and then they could go through and say, well, look at how many times you took your hands to your face. Look how many times you scratched yourself.
We
These
still
are
do.
all-
We
still
still
do.
We still do. We don't do it anymore directly, but we have on our website. You'll find it's called Big Interview. You can do it from your home. It tapes you. You can pick out questions. There's 7,000 questions to choose from. You can pick out 5 or 6, set it up, interview yourself. We'll be happy to review it with you. You can take a look at it yourself. So yeah, you don't even have to come. Well, obviously you can't come into the office anymore, but Big Interview is a great opportunity. More and more of our students are using it because it simulates that virtual environment, and there are rules to do that. You don't look at the person, you look at your camera. You have to be professionally dressed. You have to have a clean background. So if you want help with these virtual interviews or any interview, we're there too. But Pat is right. You have to be dressed like a professional. Not a tux, maybe, but professional.
There is a time.
There is a
and
time for tuxes. You're right.
Some of you folks have gone out with myself or some of the other instructors to hotels or professional organizations where they're hosting us, the chefs or the food service managers, and you see people in their particular roles. Think about these things and where you want to be this year or in 5 years from now, and place yourself in that position. And we can really help you with this. The JPRC, as well as the other departments at the college, are highly skilled, and that is what they're funded to do. And so by all means, ask us so we can help whenever we can.
Yeah, we haven't missed a beat. We're still working, and because we're at home, sometimes, if you can't meet with us till 5 o'clock and our hours are 4:30, one of us will be willing to make that adjustment too.
Yeah, they're working like most of us. I get emails Saturday night at 10 o'clock at night, and I respond to them sometimes. It's just,
Me too.
oh, well, we can do it.
We can do it.
Anything else? Any other questions?
In the activities section, can we include sports? Is that a good thing to include?
So you play like a club sport or Harper?
Yes, I do track and field at Harper.
Okay, yes, that would go there too, right?
Okay.
And that would be a good thing. Think about what sports are. That's teamwork, collaboration, requires critical thinking, problem solving. That is a good thing. Anything about you, so if you are, if you like to play video games and watch Hallmark movies, I probably wouldn't include that unless you were applying. In some cases, if people are going for a job in the film industry or in the gaming industry, we would say something different about that. But you want to keep personal information off a resume as much as you can. It opens up an opportunity for an employer to ask a personal question, and we don't want that to happen. So, yes, if you are a Harper athlete, definitely put that down. Yeah, and even if you weren't, if you played a club sport, a lot of people play club sports. That would be great too. Good question. I know you have an assignment coming up for Professor Beach, and if you want someone to take care of your look at your resume before you hand it in, we'd be happy to, as long as that's okay with you, Pat.
Yep, that's why we did this.
Right.
It's due, I think, in March or April. But it does, I think it's about 25% of their grade. It's supposed to be a big thing and reflect the information that came across this resume workshop also.
So, try not to send it to us an hour before it's due. We have managed to get them back, but it's, if you give us a couple days, then we'd be happy to send you back an edited copy with notes and suggestions. That's what we do.
So, Mr. Beach, if I already have a resume that I use for like job and stuff, I send it to you, you would look it over to see if there's any issues with it?
Oh yeah, I've done this already to some students. I've looked at them, but I got to tell you, these people, this is what they do full time, And so, while I'm good at it, I've looked at thousands of resumes over the years. These folks have looked at tens of thousands. So it's kind of like when I went to my dentist, and she said, "Well, you're going to need a root canal there," and she says, "But Joe, 3 doors down, he does root canals six a day every day. I do 6 a month. So why don't you go talk to Joe?"
Oh, okay. Are you gonna post?
I'll be happy to take a look at it. Make no mistake. But these guys are professionals at this.
Are you gonna post like their emails and stuff so we could send it to them?
It's on the sheet. There's a package that'll go live at 10 a.m. this morning that they sent me.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, everybody stay warm and safe. A pleasure to be here. Nice to see you in person, Pat.
Thank you.
I miss everybody. If you have any questions, you'll find a way to contact us. And if you can always go to Harper's homepage and put in JPRC, and you'll get right to our website. Okay, everyone, good luck. Take care, and I hope to hear from you.